But first, let's get into this news story that I really did not see very much covered very often. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised because, as the saying goes, when white people catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia. 100,000 black women lost their jobs in April. Think about that. Just black women, not black people, men and women, just black women lost their jobs in April.
Damn.
Yes. Yes, Florida. Yes. Probably you too, if you had a job. That's right. Black women faced the sharpest job losses in the month of April. And now the unemployment rate for black women is at a months-long high, according to the data that has been released by the government. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics are saying that black women lost 38,000 jobs and their unemployment increased by 106,000 last month. You heard that right. The unemployment just of black women increased by 106,000 last month. The unemployment rate for black women jumped all the way up to 6.1%. That's a whole percentage point higher than it was in March. In just 1 month, the unemployment rate for black women jumped by 1 whole percent. The number of black women who are employed currently is at a 5-month low, and the number of unemployed is at a 5-month high. Now, this report also shows that the number of employed black women dropped all the way from 10.3 million to 10.2 million from March to April. Now, you might say, well, everybody might be affected by this. This is just sort of the readjustment of the Trump economy with the tariffs and all that. No. Other groups saw no significant change. Just black women. White women's jobless rate is steady at 3.3%. So black women's unemployment rate is almost twice that of white women. Hispanic women, Latinas, their jobless rate remained at 4.6%. Basically stayed the same there. Unemployment amongst black men did go down as well, but not as drastically. So our unemployment rate went from 5.6% our unemployment rate went from 5.6% up down from 6.1% in March. So our unemployment dropped slightly. Right. Okay. Down 0.5%. Overall, the black unemployment rate rose to 6.3%, driven by all those huge job losses from black women. And this is a troubling trend right here. April marked the 3rd month in a row that black unemployment went up. Driven again by these huge job losses from black women. Nationally, the unemployment rate is basically unchanged. So again, you can't just say this is just the Trump economy shaking itself out. That's not what this is. Now, what are the economists saying? The economists are saying that the numbers, now this is important, you might want to listen to this. They are saying that the numbers reflect a broader decline in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives due to policy changes under the Trump administration. So, I think to a large extent we kind of saw this coming. A lot of people saw this coming. And what it also says that a lot of black people, particularly black women, have, let's just be honest here, they have a lot of jobs that are seen as expendable by companies. It's unfortunate to say, but a lot of these companies have been hiring black women as double minorities, as women and as black people, just so they could say we have a woman and a black person on staff. And so the number of black Americans that are unemployed rose by 29,000% in April, which reached nearly 1.4 million. The labor force also shrank a tad bit, with 7,000 fewer people counted. Now that was reported by Black Enterprise magazine. April's job report also showed that the federal employment fell by 9,000 jobs. Again, a lot of these jobs come from the government. Since January, it has dropped by 26,000%. Black women historically have held a larger share of federal jobs. That goes back to the New Deal. I was just arguing with somebody about this online recently, because they saying, oh man, FDR, he kept black people out of the New Deal. He didn't include black people in the New Deal, and FDR didn't do anything for black people. And I said, look, yes, it is true that FDR, because of the deals he made with the Southern Democrats, could not include black people in Social Security and welfare as much as he initially wanted to. That is true. But when he started the FEPC, and when he signed those executive orders that forced people to hire black people, and when he used the power of the federal government to force black people, force employers and the government to hire black people, and outlaw discrimination against black people, that changed millions of black people's lives. Millions and millions of black people's lives in the 1930s. And ever since that point, we have been disproportionately at the mercy of the federal government in terms of who will hire us and who will allow us to make careers. It's unfortunate to say, but this is another reason why I am such a supporter of reparations for legacy black Americans. When you don't own anything, when you've had hundreds of years of wealth stolen from your community, your economic position is always precarious. And obviously there's a lot of people, I feel like, particularly in the Democratic Party, who love to have black people in a continuously precarious position, because then we'll keep voting for them so we can keep these, federal government jobs, oftentimes that are, let's just be honest, BS jobs. Some of them are BS jobs. And it's also important for us as the black community to rally around black businesses, specifically for times like this, when the federal government can't or won't hire us anymore, or the federal government sees us as expendable. And all the Kamala sister girls, like the soft life is over. This is why you have to have a base. This is why you have to have businesses within your community that hire your own people. This is why this is needed. Now, unfortunately for us, we're not like other countries in the first world. We are basically, and have always been basically, something similar to an apartheid state in this country. This is why we don't have universal health care, because black people would get it too. This is why we don't have a lot of things, because black people would get it too. That is just the reality of the situation that we have here. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish we could be like much of Scandinavia and Canada and England and France and Germany, where you see, the government says, there's a standard of living that is necessary for everybody in this country for the most part. Places like Switzerland and other places, Denmark, Finland, whatever. That is not America, unfortunately. We are a country that has always said, we are comfortable with letting huge swaths of the population go without, especially if they're black. Keep it 100. So this should be a wake-up call that we have to fortify ourselves as the black community. Just looking at this reminded me of a gentleman I'm very fond of, who I think is a really brilliant thinker in a lot of ways, the funky academic, Mr. Irmiose Frimpong. I listen to him a lot. And when Trump got elected, he said very specifically, he said, the soft life is over. The soft life is over. For a lot of women, for a lot of minorities, for a lot of people who got used to sort of, being subsidized by the government in a lot of ways, and even a lot of these careers, soft life is over. And so I'll let him say it. He says it a lot better than I do, but I think it's important to listen to what he had to say about this. And this is why black people, this is why particularly in our communities, we have to, as the black Muslims used to say, do for self. This is why this is important.
America, my name is Irmiose Frimpong. I come to you rather often now because I feel like there's a need to clarify the state of your world, lest you be confused and miss all of the trains that are then going to run over you. Circle back and run over you. So let me tell you right now that the era of soft life is over in America. Unless you can show that you are actually a productive citizen in these United States, you will be discarded. You will be discarded. There are lots of ways to respect the working class. One of them is to actually, help them organize and bargain their way into a better station in the United States. And then the other way is to just demote and fire everybody else. I wanted the first way. You got Trump, and Trump looks like he's going to bring in a whole lot of libertarians who are going to right-size America like Elon Musk right-sized Twitter. All right? So this is going to be the equivalent of that process where if a company takes over your firm, they fire everyone provisionally, and then you have to reapply for your job. Like, all of America is going to be reapplying for their job in Trump's America. And you better be able to tell Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy what you do. And if it turns out that what you do was always a scam, one, you should have been a little bit nicer. You should have been a little bit nicer to people like me who said that we need to organize. You should have actually been trying to, organize other workers and talk about the dignity of a job and what jobs mean in America and how you can't really be an American without a job. Instead, you were talking about, mothers demanding gun sense, or you were talking about abortion when you should have been talking about jobs the whole time, because now the people with dirty jobs are going to run your life. The bus driver, one way to make the bus driver king is to fire everyone who's not a bus driver. So then we'll see that not only are they not worthless, they're the only people who are worth things now. So if you didn't lock in your good job, your good cushy job, or lock in some skills, some hard demonstrable skills before this era, this is going to be a hard next 4 years for you, because I think there's an entire level of Kamala Harris voting BS jobs. And I'll tell you, most of the people fired by Twitter were women. There's an entire level of BS jobs that are just going to go away, that they are going to go away because it turns out they could do it without you. And now with AI, they really can do it without you. So maybe you should have been a little bit more humble. Maybe you should have actually thought about what jobs mean a little bit more. And I'm talking about Democrats who really have an it's complicated relationship with jobs. They don't care. Like Kamala Harris, when she was in her 20s, dated Willie Brown, who appointed her to 2 commissions where she made $500,000 for sitting on those 2 commissions. If you make $500,000 for sitting on 2 commissions, it's really hard not to think that everybody who gets dirty for a living is a loser. And so every time she talks about jobs, you just got the sense that she did not really, she struggled to talk about like the dignity of labor the same way that Joe Biden struggled to talk about the abortion politics. It was hard for her because it's hard for a certain class of people to not think people who actually work for a living, the roofers, the plumbers, who literally are elbow deep, that they're not losers. And so there's an entire class of Democrats, the fancy Democrats, who just have a hard time taking working class people seriously. This year, those working class people went to Trump, and there's going to be a backhanded way in which he takes them seriously, which means that they're going to be the only people who can work. Everyone else is being shown the door, and then is going to end up having to suck up to the garbage man and the roofer, which I think it's complicated. I think we need to right-size the economy towards what we need for political self-governance, which means we guarantee everybody a job and we just put them to work fulfilling the needs that democratic self-governance requires.
Whew. I couldn't have said it any better myself. The funky academic, hear me, oh say frimpong. The soft life is over, folks. Please let this be a lesson why we as black people have to create our own stuff and not look to these others to rescue us, or again, we will be the last hired and the first fired. And when some of those people are rehired, that won't be us. All right, folks. When we get back, we're going to get into what they've been feeding us. And it ain't good. We'll be right back after these here on Straight Out of the Cannon with me, Scott Cannon.